Hi, I'm Eddie Kramer.
My name's Robert Carranza.
This is Vance Pell.
This is Larry Crane.
My name is Michael Romanowski.
My name is Richard Gibbs from Woodshed Recording, and you're watching Burl TV.
The main thing is, it sounds better to me. It sounds clearer, more open, and more real. Sounds like what's coming off my desk, and that's really what I want. In any D to A, or any A to D, is I want the sound of my desk coming back to me after it's printed. And this is the closest I've had it ever in all my career using digital processing. Well, the first thing I noticed was it was a really nice, clear, even upper mid-range, which to me is always the place a lot of times where digital gets just that little harsh edge. S's, comparing from my desk to the playback, S's and sharp sort of transients felt just much nicer than with the 2192. All in all, just a much better, clearer sound. And I really like that.
It's bar none one of the most important pieces of the puzzle. It's kind of like driving with a haze over your car, you know? Not then necessarily you can see the road ahead of you, you can see the lights, but you really don't have anything in focus. And that's what the Burl does now. It brings everything straight into focus. I mean, if I don't have to use an EQ, my life is good.
I think Will called me up and said, hey, listen, we got this thing done. Can we bring it in? I said, sure, let's try it out. Let's see what happens. And it was great. It was the first time that I had actually heard that Mothership do its thing. Been a fan ever since. There's an underlying thing here, and that is Burl makes the bloody difference. And I keep stressing that. Wherever I go, whether I'm at Abbey Road in London, whether I'm in La Fabrique in France, and whichever studio I go to, and whoever I'm talking to in whatever studio, I say, guys, have you ever tried the Burl? Come on now.
On every category, recording, playback, all the different styles of music we tried, there just seriously was no contest. But really where it set apart for me, because I'm an orchestral composer, I'm used to standing in front of a 100-piece orchestra and conducting it, and I know where everybody is sitting and I know their names. You know what I mean? I can hear the bows. I know what's going on. And this was the only converter that I could listen to and said, the stereo imaging was correct. It felt like I knew where everybody was. And it was, all the other ones sounded great. They were all fine until I turned this one on. It's the imaging. It's the imaging. That's what really sold me. I mean, you can fake low end. You can EQ, you can do whatever. But you can't, that separation, that imaging, that sense of the stage, that was the biggest difference for me.
One of the things that really struck me about the B16, about the characteristic that I like about it is there's a musicalness to it. There's a clarity of instruments. It's not being muddied by other things that are getting in the way. You know, to me, it's one of those things, I would call it analogous to the digital world in the resolution aspect. The things about high resolution is really about lowering the noise floor and getting closer to those low-level details that allow you to hear what's going on a deeper level. I find that with the B16, you know, I'm getting that sound. It's how the analog circuitry, the Class A circuitry, is working to clean up or to not introduce phasing problems or anomalies into the audio path. The low end is something that, for me, really feels bigger without being more. It feels stronger without feeling, you know, oppressive or pushed. The same kind of thing into the top. Like what I like about being able to hear into things is that very fine detail. Those overtones of instruments are what create the different timbral versions of the same note. A C on this is going to, cello is going to be different than a C on a guitar or a C on a piano and all that. And it's the overtone series that's different. The more that we can hear into that overtone series that describes the character of the sound, the more natural the sounds are to begin with, and the less they're going to overlap with other instruments that may have, like, you don't want to cloud up a whole bunch of stuff in a certain range because you're filling in these gaps, but that's not natural necessarily to the instruments. I think things sound best when they become more open and pull you in, and that's one of the things I like about the B16 is that it's got the clarity is not something that's forced, and it's not something that's manipulated. It's actually just peeled back and allowed to be more what it is.
When I heard these Burl converters in the Mothership, I knew that there was a whole different sonic world going on. And the thing that I was hearing is something really subtle and really amazing. But what I felt is like a lot of the sounds had a larger girth, a larger sort of presence on the individual tracks, but not in some kind of weird hyped way, not in some kind of weird way that you got too much coloration and all the tracks start to have some sort of problematic buildup. There's nothing. It's not something so simple. And don't be a bonehead internet dweeb and think that this is some stupid trick that they've just added some garbagey EQ to this thing to make it sound euphonic. This is a real piece of professional recording equipment, and it's not going to be cheap, but you can buy a few channels at a time. This is something that'll up your game, and for a professional studio that services our clients as well as we can, I think this is one of the best products out there that's just upped the sound of our studio. Our mixes are coming out better. It's fantastic. It's an amazing box to track in through.
Hi, I'm Justin Niebank. I'm a recording engineer, producer, musician from Nashville, Tennessee. One of the things that's great about the Mothership, besides how I feel about it and the fact that, you know, the greatest moment in a tracking session is when you're working on an arrangement and everyone comes in for the first playback. And that is the key to a great engineer to me, is when that first playback comes in, the musicians feel like the music is bigger than the sum of the parts. And that's, every engineer should always aspire to that. When they walk in, they just can't believe that it's them on those tracks. And anything that I can have to gain advantage on that is the kind of tools that I like to work with. And the Burl has taken it to, I mean, I have to say, it's taken it to another level.
My name is Juan Mario Arasil Maito. I'm a mixing engineer, producer, and pianist. And the Mothership, what do you want me to tell you, man? I mean, you know, I got 12 Grammys, and all my albums that I have mixed, I use the Mothership, you know, in all kind of way. Like, I bring my mixes to the Mothership. Everything I do has to be with the Mothership. Once I got the Mothership, it's like what I'm hearing, I'm seeing it. It's hard to explain, but it's like, it's 3D, you know, like the sound is three-dimensional. Like, you have everything in your face, everything. So when you print into the Mothership, you know, going out from my SSL and going to the Mothership, there's a big difference. You see it, and it's not just seeing it, it's listening, because I just go by my ears, you know. And I think it's the best interface that is out there right now.
The most recent game changer for me was getting a Burl Mothership. And, you know, buying an A to D or D to A converter is totally not sexy, it's not fun, but it has changed the sonics of my mixes. I had done an A-B before, and I could hear the difference from down the hall. It sounded like someone was changing between NS10s and Pro X on the desk, and it was like everything just went like this. You know, I've been getting good low end on my mixes, to be perfectly honest. I was happy with where I was, but then this Burl came into the picture, and all of a sudden it's like easier. I didn't have to work as hard, so that makes things faster.
I have to say I'm a fan of the original B2 DAC as well. So I've been using that exclusively for years. So when I listened to this new one, I was a little unsure as to how you guys were going to improve on that. And I was pleasantly surprised. It's amazing. It just seems to have a little bit extra bandwidth, extra extension at the very top, but without sounding hyped like a lot of converters I hear. There's a ton of stuff on the market that kind of does this. And so when you first listen to it, you get really excited about it and then realize it's just hyped. And the Burl seems to have an extended frequency response without sounding hyped.
In the digital domain, the Burl gear is a big part of that for me. It's a big part of that. Because I went back to being able to forget that I was using a computer. The Mothership in particular allowed me to forget I was using a computer and just let the song engage me emotionally.